This is the Fantasy GOAT.
All right, so whatever happened to you and your fantasy team in week one, don't get too high, don't get too low. It's just week one, Jason.
Well, listen, between Puka and Jordan Love, I'm already having heart failure, Mike. This is in one league, in two guys.
It's all going to be okay. Take a deep breath.
Seriously.
It's going to be fine. And buckle up, guys, because we have a great show for you. We have fantasy advice and insight right around the corner. The Fantasy GOAT starts right now. Let's do this thing. So coming up on today's show, we have Ritchie of Full-Time Fantasy. He has 6 waiver wire ads you need to scoop up right away. Plus, Dr. Nithin Natwa breaks down the critical injuries every fantasy manager is talking about. And Jason and I, we're going to play a game of this or that. It's a very new little thing we're adding to the show here that a lot of people are going to love. And a little later on, Sam Argier joins us to take a look at the weather impact and how that's going to be impacting certain fantasy games. But first, let's kick off everything with our good old friend Livestock and the WTF late inactive call on CMC. First up in Livestock, we got to talk McCaffrey because, listen, McCaffrey managers can't be happy inactive at the last second, but people who really handcuffed Jordan Mason were set up nicely. Mason carried the ball 28 times for 147 yards and 1 TD. So, Jason, this is why you're supposed to handcuff elite running back.
Or not. I have Jordan Mason. I don't have Christian McCaffrey. So I did well.
Hey, you were smart to do that. McCaffrey managers weren't happy at all. Do you believe Jordan Mason, is it more about him or is it more about the line and the system and Kyle Shanahan?
I think it's the line because look at all of the running backs in the past 5-6 years that have just thrived. Even going back to Mostert, who he did okay last year, but he didn't do so. In fact, he's out.
Right.
He's out this week.
Yes,
Yeah,
but all right,
I think the line. But Jordan Mason looks good though.
Yeah, he really did look good. We're going to see what happens with CMC this week. All right, next up though, Marvin Harrison Jr., the 4th pick of the draft, a rookie wide receiver, son of Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison. Of course, he was going late in the first, maybe early second round in most fantasy drafts, and he finishes his debut with 1 catch for 4 yards. Now, Jason, I know you have him in some leagues. I have him in some leagues. What's your level of panic when it comes to Marvin Harrison Jr. as we head in the week 2?
Well, just as proud as I am for having Jordan Mason on another team, check this out. My first 2 picks got me 1 point, and that was Marvin Harrison Jr. and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
The Egyptian sun god. Exactly. Here, this is my take on the whole Marvin Harrison Jr. thing. Rookie wide receivers, it usually takes a week or 2 to get involved. I mean, we did see good games from Ladd McConkey and Neighbors had a decent game, but I think, listen, they got to throw the ball to him.
Yeah.
George, Michael Wilson, they're decent wide receivers, but Harrison's the guy. They're going to have to go to him. I know, though, Kyler said it's not my job to get him the ball, which I don't believe that at all.
No, I don't.
It is kind of his job.
There were some names that I could not believe were getting the ball instead of some of these, not even rookies, but some of the guys we expected to get the ball. It's crazy. I'm like, these names weren't even good when they were the only ones around.
It's crazy because also in that Arizona offense, we got to talk about the tight end because week 1 tight ends weren't strong.
Horrible.
Trey McBride did not have a great game. Pretty much, unless you had Isaiah Likely, the most unlikely guy to have a good game, he was the good tight end. Everybody else, bad games for Kelsey, Andrews, Kincaid, Kittle, Ingram, and more. So what was going on with that week 1-wise, Jason?
I don't know, because you would think that the tight end would be, kind of the security blanket for a lot of these quarterbacks that might not want to throw it all the way down the field in week 1 because they didn't play in the preseason. So I thought it was interesting that the tight ends weren't getting more love. And of course, on that topic, I'm investing in Likely.
Can we just mention how much money you invested in one league? I saw this, FAB money. You spent $251.
Yeah, 25% of my FAB budget, and I already have
on Isaiah Likely.
I have Evan Ingram already, but that's the league where I lost Puka. And looking at everybody on the waiver wire, to me, he had the most upside to the point where I would play 2 tight ends.
I don't like it. I think you can't overreact in week 1.
I just think he's good.
He is good, but we'll see what happens. All right, this is a perfect transition because now we're going to rehab our rosters with some good old-fashioned waiver wire work. Now, here to help us out is fantasy expert and the owner of Full-Time Fantasy, Ritchie.
Yeah, we need you now, Ian. So who are the absolute guys we need to be targeting after week 1?
Well, right off the bat, what I'd say is if in your league, if Jordan Mason, J.K. Dobbins, or Isaiah Likely are available, you're going to want to make those your priorities. Those are the best pickups you can make right now, and I think you need to be aggressive on those 3.
Yeah, all right. Now, if those guys aren't available, because, I mean, we're in some deeper leagues,
right.
Jason, who else should we be targeting?
If those guys are not available on your waiver wire, I have 3 players that I would recommend that probably are available on your waiver wire for you. The first one is DeMarcus Robinson. He is owned in 14.8% of ESPN leagues. With Puka Nacua going down and out for at least 4 weeks, he knows the offense really well. Matthew Stafford trusts him a lot. He had 7 targets this week. But most importantly, the last 5 games of last year, he averaged 7 targets per game. He averaged 65 yards per game. And he had an 80% chance at a touchdown each game he was involved in. And so I think he's a really valuable guy to pick up right now with Nacua going down in an offense that's very powerful.
I mean, Kupp looked phenomenal, but filling that Nacua void is going to be a big deal. So, all right, who's the number 2 guy we need to target then?
The second guy I'd be targeting is Brandon Cooks. I really like Brandon Cooks a lot. With CeeDee Lamb missing camp and his holdout, Cooks really held down the fort and did a great job in the wide receiver room and had a great camp and really led the charge. Brandon Cooks averages 7 targets a game and 14.5 points per game in his career. And this week, ironically, he had 7 targets and scored 14.5 points. With Jake Ferguson going down and being dinged up, I think his target share goes up, and I think Brandon Cooks is very valuable for you, and he's only owned in 29.7% of ESPN leagues.
So far, so good. So who is the last one you have for us?
The last one's a little bit deeper. Wan'Dale Robinson of the New York. And I like Wan'Dale Robinson. He's currently owned in 6.8% of ESPN leagues. With the focus on neighbors a lot from the offense, Wan'Dale had 12 targets very quietly this week. He's going up against a team that got absolutely torched this week by the Tampa Bay, which is their secondary is very poor, and I fully expect Wan'Dale to light them up, just like the Tampa Bay did to them this week.
I got to tell you, Ian,
he's got a mouth.
He's got a litigation potty mouth. All right, and, yeah, no F word. Sorry, Ian. Good job though.
Yeah, great stuff. Go check out fulltimefantasy.com for more. We love you, Ian.
Okay, time for our 2-minute drill.
Yes, it's a new segment where we have unbiased perspective on our head-to-head matchup, Jason. That's why we have, from Beat the Odds, Mariah Janos joining us right now. Hey, Mariah.
What up, dog? So pumped to be joining you guys. In my hand, I have the numbers from week 1. And look, I know week 1 is a tricky place because it's the first time we can really evaluate players and see if they've improved or regressed coming into 2024. But some of these picks, you guys, inexcusable. Let's look at the tail of the tape here. First up, Mike Davis. Opening weekend was not kind to you, sir. Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence, 10.8 points. Then you got Buffalo running back James Cook, 13.3 points. Okay. And then T. Higgins. Bro, he didn't play. 0 points. And then tight end Johnny Munt. Johnny Munt? Okay, 3.5 points. The total is 27.6 points.
First of all, T. Higgins, we didn't know he wasn't playing until super last minute, so don't
okay,
hurt
but
me there.
We knew there were questions around the Cincinnati receiving core, so pick a different team.
And I thought maybe Jamar Chase, not playing all preseason, not doing anything practice-wise, he's going to target Higgins, but he didn't play, and then Johnny Munt. I mean, I figured T.J. Hawkins.
Again, just pick a different team. Jason, let's talk about you, okay? So you get a win right out of the gate, dropping 72 points. Mike Flounder. His 27 points, like one of Jason's players amounted to 27 points.
Oh, that's
that was
true.
Mike's total. But yeah, let's get into the nitty gritty here of really what went wrong. Aside from T. Higgins, he didn't play. He was ruled out. We get it. That's life. You deal with it. But maybe you wouldn't have taken such a big hit had you chosen a quarterback, Mike, that can convert on third down, which leads me to mistake number 2. Believing Trevor Lawrence, wheeling and dealing in preseason, would translate to the regular season. The $275 million contract extension he signed gave him the confidence to throw 12 completions, the second fewest he's ever recorded in his pro career. So again, could it just any other quarterback, Mike? Any other one? Now, where both of you messed up, the tight end position, and you guys kind of touched on it.
Yeah.
rough week for tight ends across the board, unless you had Isaiah Likely, who, again, very unlikely. However, Mike's decision, Johnny Munt,
Who?
the second stringer. Who is he?
I just like to say Munt. It reminds me of Ronnie Munn. But
the second stringer for Minnesota, okay? There's no replacing TJ Hawkinson. We know that. Sam Darnold under center, you don't know what you're going to get. Maybe, again, just look at a different team. But Jason, Tyler Conklin too. Yeah. New York's entire offense was a hot mess after the opening drive on Monday night. I think everyone can agree on that. But one target from Rodgers to Conklin. Did not catch it. But don't worry, he can make the catch when Tyrod Taylor throws him the ball during garbage time. That's where it really matters, right? So yeah, tight ends, epic fail this week. The good news is you never have to worry about the production of any of these guys for the remainder of the season. That T. Higgins one might bite you in the butt, but it can only go up from here, I guess. But I mean, it really depends if Mike stays locked in on those injury reports, which I don't know if he can.
We have a doctor on the show every week.
I'm so happy we added this. I just feel so wonderful and elated. Thank you, Mariah. What a
By the way,
segment.
Anytime.
My philosophy was that first week I wanted to take people who would be injured by the second week. I'm already right on Walker, so I actually should have played Mike Williams, but then I really would have had a 0, let alone I took the wrong New York guy if I wanted to really be bad.
Trevor Lawrence is the one guy in the world, like everything should be going right for this guy.
Yeah.
He has every weapon in the world. He's got the hair.
Yeah.
He's a #1 overall draft pick. The dude should be phenomenal.
It might be time to cut the hair.
Maybe.
It might be
It's like
time to just
No,
buzz
look
it.
what Burrow did. Burrow he went all Eminem and it didn't do anything for him.
Yeah, it's not helping in his
It's reverse Samson in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's the reverse. He cuts his hair and then he becomes superhuman. All right, here we go. Next up, guys, we're gonna go to my happy place. Yes, my happy place is with that man right there, Dr. Nithin Natwa. He's here to solve all of our lingering fantasy injury questions after week 1. So don't go anywhere. Fantasy Docs joins us next.
This is the Fantasy GOAT.
All right, well, it's only week 1, and Jason, we're already flooded with major injuries to big-time fantasy stars.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to keep complaining, but I'm going to keep complaining because I, in one league, have both Puka and Jordan Love.
Not a good start for you. I'm sorry for you, man, but we're going to hope for a smooth transition right now because you just helped us out because joining the show right now is our own GOAT, Dr. Nithin Natwa. Doc, so much to talk about. Let's kick this off with Puka Nacua. What's going on with him? How should fantasy owners and managers be moving forward when they have Puka Nacua on their roster?
Yeah, definitely unfortunate. I don't know what you guys think about what these coaches are saying these days. It sounds like they're telling us about the minor injuries like the bursa, which is an injury that anyone can play through, but it seems like Puka Nacua had that PCL sprain that possibly happened in training camp, and we didn't hear anything about it. And then he aggravated it in the game. And that's something that can take about 4 to 6 weeks minimum. And then there's some reduced performance after that. So I'm pretty concerned about it, and I would be trying to trade him, to be honest.
All right. What about managers were blindsided by CMC sitting out on Monday Night Football? I was bragging a little bit because I actually only had his handcuffed Jordan Mason. But how is CMC looking with this lingering injury?
Jason, that's a genius move picking up Mason without CMC because he just went off. And I think he's going to possibly get you another win this week. CMC said that he's going to be playing. He's got Achilles tendonitis, which once again is a more concerning diagnosis, but we had only heard about the calf strain. So it seemed like CMC was going to start, but then Mason seemed to know that he was starting since Friday. So we have a little bit of disinformation going there as well. It sounds like they're taking it conservative with CMC, and even though he's saying he's suiting up to play this weekend, it seems like the staff is probably going to err on the side of caution with Achilles tendonitis since it's a long season and they have a viable running back in Mason. So I'm projecting him to be out this week. I do think that this is something that's not going to affect him past the first quarter of the season. He can get like a PRP injection or a stem cell injection, but the problem is those take about 4 to 5 weeks to kick in. So although I don't see him being out that long, I think he's back week 3, but possibly some reduced performance week 3, week 4. Nothing that I'm trying to trade with, though. I definitely want to keep a hold of him, and hopefully you have Mason, but not in Jason's league.
Yeah, right.
There you go. All right, Doctor. Thanks so much. Go follow at Fantasy Docs on all social media for all that valuable fantasy medical advice we certainly need. Next time, coming up after a short break, we got a little game of this or that. Thanks, Dr. Natwa. We'll see you next week.
See you later.
All right, welcome back to the Fantasy GOAT. Jason, now it's time for a game of this or that. First up, we got Xavier Worthy or Jameson Williams. Where do you stand on those two?
Can I choose neither? Because I actually think that Amon-Ra will get Jameson's catches this week, and Xavier Worthy just doesn't get the ball enough. He had one of those touchdowns was a broken play, and the other one was an end around, which was good, but I don't even think he was. I just think the other team was confused.
Well, listen, they're going to use him in a very interesting fashion,
Right.
of course, Kansas City. But he's a speedster. We got to see how he is really when it comes to running routes and
Yeah.
being a traditional wideout. So I think the jury's still out on that. Jameson Williams, though, this dude was always talented. He was a top 10 pick. He was so great at Alabama. And now, I mean, what we saw from week one, he had a 32% target share. His snap rate was 85%. So he's a speedster. They're kind of used in similar fashions. But I think Amon-Ra is going to get more target share. But Jameson could be in line for a huge season, and I'm betting on him this year.
I don't think the defenses were ready for him, and now they might be.
Yeah. So I think he's a big-time steal in a lot of leagues. All right, next up, we got some running backs that are actually on the same team in Denver. Javonte Williams or Jaleel McLaughlin. How do you feel about those guys?
This is simple. If you're playing in a standard league, it's Javonte, and if you're playing in a PPR, it's Jaleel. He had many more receptions. They both had about the same amount of carries, but it just came down to those receptions and getting that point, and that was Jaleel.
Put it this way. This is how I feel. If you're in a situation or a circumstance where you're playing McLaughlin or Javonte, you're not in a good situation. I mean, let's just face it. You don't want to be playing either one of these guys. 10 carries, 5 receptions for Jaleel, 8 carries targeted twice for Javonte. 2 guys that are now facing Pittsburgh, perhaps the best defense in the league. They're not going to have a pretty week, so I would just not even partake in anything to do with the backfield in Denver for this week. Guys, right now we got a little bit of weather insight from Sam Argier.
It is week 2 and we have your GOAT cast covered. I'll let you know if there's any weather worries as you set your lineup. That's all coming up as the Fantasy GOAT continues right after the break.
All right, now it's time for some weather with our expert, some insight.
Yes, of course. Yes, sir. Meteorologist Sam Argier is going to join us right now to share all the games he's flagging. Hey, Sam.
Jason, Mike, it's week 2, and I'm not seeing any major weather worries as you think about setting your lineup for Sunday. I've got no major storms, some mild temperatures for mid-September, meaning a lot of games will be in the 70s and 80s. Chance of some showers for some of the games, but no major storms for the games on Sunday. Here's the way the weather map is looking for Sunday late morning, early afternoon for the early games. The most rain is expected in the southeast, so this could have a bit of an impact on some of the games. Jacksonville, Carolina, and Tennessee specifically. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s with a few scattered showers in the area. Also a slight chance of a shower in Green Bay for their game against Indy. Dry weather in the Northeast and pretty mild in New England, Baltimore, and in Washington, D.C. Couple late afternoon games playing up in Denver, the Mile High City at 89, 85 in Kansas City. And then the Sunday night games indoors in Houston at 80 degrees at kickoff. And then for the Monday night game, Atlanta heading up to Philadelphia, 72 degrees, looking calm in Philly for Monday night. That's your latest GOAT cast. Jason, Mike, we'll send it back to you.
Good stuff there, Sam. Next up, it's about that time. It's GOAT lineup next. And Jason, I'm looking to read.
All right, we'll see about that.
This is the Fantasy GOAT.
All right, welcome back, kids. Well, it's GOAT lineup time, so here's how GOAT lineup works for all you new kids at home. Each and every week, Jason, you and I face off head-to-head in standard scoring by selecting 1 QB, 1 RB, 1 wide receiver, and lastly, 1 tight end. Now, here's the catch. We can only use a player 1 time all year. It's kind of like Survivor style with that, and last year, you were the GOAT, Jason, so here is just a great reminder of how tremendous you did last year. And, of course, Mariah from Beat the Odds told us earlier how bad you did beat me, in fact.
Yeah,
last week.
yeah.
But I'm bringing it. this week.
I'm inspired to do good this week too, because I don't want to hear from her next week.
No, me either. Not
I'm
after
scared.
that. All right, so Jason, here's who I have
Okay.
in my starting lineup, as you can see right there. QB Justin Herbert. I think he's going to have a strong showing against that Carolina team that looked dreadful, frankly, last week. Isaiah Pacheco, he's a fixture there. He's going to be going up against Cincinnati. I think they're going to definitely use him in a lot of circumstances in that game. Brandon Ayuk, not a great showing week 1, but he's going to bounce back in week 2. And Pat Freiermuth, my boy, I love Pat, and I think they're going to try to get the passing game going a little bit. Pittsburgh didn't have such a great offense last week. And Justin Fields, if he's going to try to get that passing game going, he's going to want to throw to his security blanket and Pat Freiermuth.
Dustin Hopkins had a great offense, six field goals.
Boswell,
I mean, Chris Boswell. Yeah. Who am I thinking? Okay, never mind. All right, so here I go with mine. Because of the matchup, I kind of like Daniel Jones with New York. They're up against Washington. I don't know. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. I like running back Josh Jacobs. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot because of the quarterback situation. I'm going with Rashee Rice from Kansas City as my wide receiver. I can throw him in any week and feel pretty good about that. And then tight end for LA, Cody Parkinson, because he was getting the ball quite a bit. That seems to be Matt Stafford's guy. So why not take him?
And no Puka, so that could be a new guy there. Listen, this is I need to bounce back. This is no joke stuff, and I'm happy you're playing Daniel Jones. Danny Dimes, that already is giving me a chance in itself. So God bless your sweetheart for doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have great confidence in Justin Herbert yet either, but he is a good matchup.
Yeah,
he is a good matchup.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us this week. We love having you here on The GOAT. We'll see you next time around. Good luck.
My guys, score more points.
Yeah.
Come on.
And don't get hurt.
Yeah, don't get hurt.
Don't get hurt.